Hello from Athens, Georgia. I'm going to talk a little bit about mindset today because not enough of these podcasts, of this, self-help media, of the content that you read about business online talks enough about the mindset and the struggles and the things that you might go through that aren't widely publicized because they're not sexy, they're not fun, they're not actionable problems that you can solve with action. I think business is really fun in the beginning. A lot of things are really fun in the beginning. A new sport, a new relationship, a new move, a new job. It's always fun and exciting for the first 6 weeks, 6 months when you're making a lot of progress. Maybe it's even the first year. Making a lot of progress, get that website built, you go service those first customers, or you start a new job, you meet new people, you make a new friend, and you're in the honeymoon phase. You're dating somebody new and you don't know anything bad about them yet. But I think the part that's the most critical part is called the dip. And this is different for all different businesses, but it could be month 6 to month 36. It could be year 2 to year 5. It could be, in my case, it was year 3 to year 7. Year 3 to year 7 in my business, we felt like we were working our butts off and grinding, and not much was happening. There wasn't a moment where we just succeeded or had a blowout time. I mean, those times are few and far between. There's these peaks and valleys of entrepreneurship. And I mean, in some ways, it's about maximizing the height of those peaks that come along every 6 months. I mean, when you're doing online businesses, a newsletter, selling product, writing courses, whatever it is, you're trying to maximize revenue in those launch periods, those little windows where it's a 3-day stretch. Maybe it's Black Friday sale, or maybe it's something along those lines. Business is the same way. You may be working for years and years and years to have an exit, or to have a big capital infusion, or to sell the business, or whatever it might be. The hardest part is that it can take forever for it all to come together. So one of the biggest skills that I think separates entrepreneurs from successful entrepreneurs from wantrepreneurs is the ability to power through that not fun phase. Everybody starts a business and has a lot of fun and is really obsessed with it for 6 months. But the people who can stay the course, stay excited, stay energized, even when it's not fun and when it's not necessarily growing and when it's not on a crazy straight line rise, that's when it separates the men from the boys and the people who are successful from the people who aren't. It's delayed gratification. It's the marshmallow test for adults. How long can you wait to get that prize? If you're not willing to work 5 years at something without really getting any reward for it, you're going to really struggle to make it, to be successful, to get wealthy. Because even getting wealthy and investing, in the early days of this stuff, it takes a lot of sacrifice. The relative sacrifice to the relative reward is not equal. You may give up a lot in the early days to start that business when you're only making $20, $30, $40 an hour for your time to do it. When you start investing to get that snowball rolling, it's really hard. When we built our first self-storage facility, we took a massive amount of risk and set aside every dollar we had to invest in that first self-storage facility, and we didn't make any money for 3 years because it was a new development project. Started in 2016. We didn't really have a liquidity event, a cash out refinance until 2019. We worked for 3 years. We sacrificed for 3 years until that thing came. And now building a real estate business, you can feel like you're pounding your head against the wall, working and working and working for 12, 18 months, and nothing happens. But now the good part, this all sounds pretty depressing to you. The good part is that it can all happen really fast. Your life can change in what seems like really quickly. You kind of put your head down and worked for 18 months, and then boom, over the next 3, you got a couple big deals, or maybe you had a big liquidity event, or you sold a big property, or you did a cash out refinance and you got $2 million wired to your checking account. That's what happened to me in November of 2019. So what I'm going to say to you is, okay, maybe what you're doing right now is not fun. Maybe what you're doing right now doesn't have a window for you to get rich quick. Maybe what you're doing right now, likely what you're doing right now, doesn't have a clear path to a big, giant win. But you have a feeling that the momentum, and I say it all the time, business is about momentum, that snowball that you've started rolling down the hill, some good things are going to start happening if you can shift gears and keep putting the pedal to the metal and keep working on the right things and keep growing. So it's funny. It's tough being an entrepreneur because if you work at a company, you get paid every other week. If you're an entrepreneur, you may be doing work now that's not going to pay you back for 3 years. It's pretty rare. Not very many people experience that. And also, it just becomes a trudge. It becomes a painstakingly slow process of, humility. Requires humility because maybe your ideas aren't panning out as quickly as you'd hoped. It requires dedication. It requires you believing in the process. You hear NFL football coaches say it all the time. Trust the process. Do your job. Trust the process. Put in the time long enough, and over time you're going to get that big win, which may be a Super Bowl victory. These guys have worked their entire careers to be at the top of their game in the football world, and all of a sudden, over the course of a 4-week playoff run, they can be Super Bowl champions. It all happens very fast. Same thing with entrepreneurship. You heard my last episode on how the last 6 months of my life have been absolutely insane. We sold our company. We had our best year ever. We've acquired, our business is 3 times larger. Our self-storage portfolio is 3 times larger than it was. Hell, it's doubled in the last 40 days. We've got some big deals under contract. But what you don't hear is from 2017 to 2019, we worked our butt off to get a second project under construction, and we didn't acquire anything. We didn't grow at all. We spent probably $200,000 trying to get 3 different projects permitted. None of them came to fruition. It was me in a room pounding my head against a wall trying to grow this company for 2 years, and nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. It's really easy to follow me on Twitter, watch this podcast, and say, oh my God, Nick always gets the deals. How does Nick always get the deals? They come to him. I'm working my butt off over here. I'm making all these cold calls and no deals are coming. Well, it comes and when it rains, it pours, but you're going to have a drought. We're in a drought right now. We haven't got a deal under contract in 65 days, so we're not going to have a closing in July. We're not going to have a closing in August. We went from acquiring 13 properties in the last 6 months to having 2 months where we'll acquire none. And that's just part of it. You go a long time without getting a deal. And maybe 2 years from now, we'll liquidate this whole portfolio and my partner and I will get a $10 million paycheck. But until then, we're just going to put our heads down. We're going to work. We're not going to worry about it. We're going to enjoy the process. And another big part of it is enjoying the process. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the uncertainty. Try to challenge yourself every day. Don't get in a situation where you're doing $20 an hour work out laboring on your truck for years. That's a big fear that I have when I promote this kind of entrepreneurship. This sweaty entrepreneurship. It all sounds great when you hear the stories of Nick, who started moving boxes upstairs and found a way to make it happen. But far more often, you have entrepreneurs who wake up and they're 35, 40 years old and they've accomplished not a whole lot. They've invested too much money back in their business. They can't find a way to get it back. And they have nothing to really show for it. They're working 70 hours a week, tied to basically a job that they've created for themselves. That's my fear. So don't get complacent. That's not what I'm saying. There's nuance here, right? I mean, you need to put in the time, but if you put in the time on a lawnmower, it's not going to get you any closer to where you're going. You have to do some things to grow. In order to get those big paydays, you got to take the right chances. You got to work on the right stuff. So don't neglect the hard work, the uncomfortable work, the things you need to do, the risks you need to take to grow your business, but don't expect it all overnight. You're hearing from me 10 years after we did our first little thing. And yeah, back then I was very excited. I thought we were going to be rich in 18 months. I was an excitable guy, and that's why we started the business. And my optimism and my energy is what got me this far. And as you know, I mean, many of you may think I'm an arrogant asshole, and I'll own that. But I also just have confidence in myself, and I get excited. I'm an excitable person. I'm energized by a lot of things that most people wouldn't even get out of bed for. right? I mean, you take me back to 2011 in our dorm room when my partner and I were starting Storage Squad, our first business. We thought we were going to take over the world. We were up on a chalkboard taking notes about how we were going to expand, and we were so excited about moving boxes, and our friends were looking at us like we were idiots. Like, guys, are you serious? You just bought a $1,500 cargo van and you're running around doing all this work for, shit, you're making $20 an hour right now. We didn't care. We were excitable. So having that energy, getting excited about these things is critical. But just understand that, hey, 18 months in, it's going to be a lot harder to get excited, and that's where it comes time to just delay that gratification and put in the work, as long as you trust the process. And then it's going to sound like I'm giving you guys all kinds of mixed advice, and you can't even, your head may be spinning, but then there's a time to give up. Knowing when to give up, knowing when your business is not going to thrive, knowing when it's not worth it is also critical. I tried a lot of different things that didn't work. I started a lawn care company in the early days, gave up on that. I started an apparel company, jumprunthrow.com, gave up on that. Did the early stages of an LED retrofitting company, did track and field camps. We started a moving company as a subset of our student storage branch. Did a lot of things that I was very excited about at the time that I thought was going to be the next big thing, ended up not being the next big thing. So I'm going to encourage you to don't fool yourself, don't kid yourself into thinking that if I just stick this out, I'll be fine. Because if you don't have any revenue, if you're trying something new, if you're in a hotly contested market and you're not willing to do the things that you might have to do to scale a business, you're going to be pounding your head against the wall for years without ever making it. I love the episodes of other people's podcasts where people have some humility and talk about some of the struggles. And I'm going to encourage you, my friend Sam Parr, I've been on My First Million podcast. It's one of my favorite podcasts. He hosts it with Sean Paree, who's also a friend of mine. Those guys are great entrepreneurs. Sam went to Belmont in Nashville, built a company out in San Francisco called The Hustle, and he sold it to HubSpot about 3 or 4 months ago. He's a great guy, and he's always sounds like he's got his shit together, and he always sounds like his mindset's right on, and he always sounds like, when you listen to him talk, like he's just so sure of himself. And I do too, but the truth is we all struggle with stuff. We all are bumping up against that anxiety that slows us down. And Sam has a great episode that came out today. If you're listening to this, it was a week ago, on My First Million, called Why I Got Sober. And he talks about how the same skill set that allowed him to be a very successful entrepreneur did not necessarily serve him well in other areas of life, and he had a severe alcohol problem that he was able to overcome. But he talks about the struggles with that, and he talks about how having balance and having a good life is a lot different than just being a successful business person. And I see it all the time in myself. I see, my intensity and my excitability and my confidence in the things that make me very unique. Yeah, they allow me to have some success in business, but they also don't really bode well to other areas of life. So I'm always working on balance and family and health and hobbies. But I encourage you to listen to that episode. It's about a 45-minute episode where Sam goes pretty deep into his struggles and what he overcame over the years to build his company and fight a battle with alcohol. I'm going to leave you with the parting thoughts is that, entrepreneurship is a slow game. Anything worth having in life is a slow game. Anything. Fitness is a slow game. Weight loss is a slow game. And I know people tell me all the time to stay in my lane when I talk about fitness and weight loss, but I feel pretty passionate about it because my wife is a registered dietitian. And she sees people who do fad diets all the time. And fad diets are that same concept translates to so many other areas of life. People just look for a get-rich-quick scheme. When it comes to small business, people are looking for the next business idea that'll make them millionaires in 6 months. They want to do the work, and they want to have high intensity for a short amount of time, and they want to enjoy long-term results. And in reality, that's not how it works. It's not how it works in business. That's not how it works in health and fitness. So you have these people who are overweight, feeling unhappy, that go on a 1 month cleanse or 1 month sugar free or 1 month super restrictive diet. And my wife sees it all the time. She's a Harvard, Cornell undergrad, Harvard registered dietitian with 5 years experience with obesity and eating disorders. She sees it all the time, the binge and restrict, binge and restrict, binge and restrict. And what these people do is, yes, they'll come at something with so much intensity and they'll have quick results. I mean, you might lose 5-6 pounds in a week when you give up sugar altogether and live a completely unsustainable lifestyle. But guess what? Over 10 months, a year, you'll be right back where you were because you only stuck it out for 30 days and you went right back to your old ways and you didn't develop sustainable habits that will lead to long-term success. So entrepreneurship is the same way. If you attack a business for 30 days, yeah, you might have some super success, but is that sustainable? No, your wife is going to leave you, your kids won't know you, and you'll shrivel up because you're probably not eating enough, right? Entrepreneurship, and it's the same way. You have to approach entrepreneurship on a 5-year time horizon. You have to approach weight loss on a 1-year time horizon. You got to approach fitness on a 1-year time horizon. If you're going to pick up the game of golf, you better get into it for a year. If you want to go run, complete an Ironman triathlon, you better start training now to hopefully complete one next year if you want to do well. It's all about long-term. Anything in life. Relationships too. I mean, relationships are fun for the first month, but month 6, 7, 8, 12 is when you really get to know somebody. And that's when you decide, okay, am I willing to put in the work to have a relationship and get married? Or am I going to give up because it's not fun, it's not exciting anymore? Business is the same exact way. So I'm going to leave you with this concept that, hey, anything worth having in life takes time. And if you're not willing to put in the work over time, every single day, you're not going to get there. Watching the Gary V motivational super intensity of going out and absolutely crushing your soul kind of work. I mean, yeah, it's sustainable for a week, but it's not going to take you to long-term success. Have some balance, nurture the other gardens in your life, your health, your fitness, your spirit, spirituality, your relationship, and find a sustainable long-term energy output to your business that allows you to stick with it over time, and you'll win.